Okay, sweet. So I think this is episode 6 of the Built by Hand podcast. I'm Ryan Murphy from Mod One Out, and
I'm Doug Eison from Humble Object.
all right, nice one. So we want to pick up. Do you want to keep talking about the Mac?
I do. In terms of the M4, you bought the M4 Mini, right?
Yeah, the little one.
Yeah, and are you buying that just for to have the form factor to be able to create the products that go with it, or are you actually buying it as a computer to use for 3D mapping?
For both, really.
Yeah.
I have an M1 Air, which has been awesome. I really like it, especially because I travel with it all the time to see clients and things like that. And it's just my daily driver. And because Fusion 360 is my primary software that I use all the time, every day, it relies most heavily on single core processing, which is what apparently these Mac chips do the best of. I don't know, maybe it's all the chips out there, but let's just pretend it's all the chips out there. They do single core processing really, really well. So I've been happy with the M1, but I do need the new form factor of the M4 Mini for products that I'm developing. And I'm just going to daily drive it here at my desk as well at the shop.
So is the M4 is good for Fusion, but like, have you ever do you know what the capabilities are of like taking it into like a rendering software like Keyshot, for example?
I don't. And I have a feeling, obviously it's going to be easy enough to look up, that if you're going to be doing a lot of rendering, that you should consider something that has a bit more RAM, at least to start with. And then I'm not sure about which M chip. I think that the 4 would be fine, but I know with these, like the price on this M4 Mini is really good at the base model, but Apple charges up the ass to increase the RAM. So that might be a case where what you might want to do instead is look at getting, say, an M2 or an M3 secondhand that has much better RAM or other processing, because I don't know where you're going to find the best efficiency gains, whether you from it being, the new chip, the 4 or whatever, or from getting something that has more cores for an older chip or more RAM on an older platform.
And then are you using external storage for like the apps and everything? Because I know that when I was looking in the M4, it was saying that obviously if you're paying for Apple storage, it's insane, hundreds of dollars for every upgrade. But they said that you could use an external like SSD and just get your own storage, but you'd have to like hardwire it in some capacity.
Yeah, and that's what I've always used for my video editing and for my photos anyway, is I have a 2 terabyte Samsung SSD. It's probably one of the most popular ones in the market, I imagine. And if I looked at the indicators on the ports of the M4 Mini, I think there's at least one Thunderbolt connection in the back, in terms of having fast transfer speeds going to and from that SSD. But honestly, I did not have a Thunderbolt the entire time I've been using either my old, was it Thunderbolt actually? Maybe it was. Anyway, I'm not gonna make stuff up, but I've been using it for a long time and I've never noticed a difference. Like the 256 gig that comes standard on these computers has always been enough for everything except for the video and the pictures. So in terms of hard drive space, for sure, an external SSD is the way to go. In terms of editing, though, just circle back on that for a sec, I did actually buy a used M1 Mac Studio as well that I actually have at my home office. And that was also because I wanted the form factor to develop products with. And because my home computer died, and that was the one that I used to use for editing. I had an old MacBook Pro, but it was with one of the old Intel chips. And it was like a beefy model at the time I bought it. It was like top spec, more or less. But the M1 Studio is like just destroys by comparison.
Yeah, I have like an old MacBook Air, and honestly, like these programs, like I just downloaded Fusion, so I'm starting to play around with that. But any of the like true render programs, it honestly shuts my computer off. Like it's that bad.
Yeah, I actually did rendering. No, I didn't do a lot of rendering outside of just Fusion before, but even then now when I'm doing my rendering, they're just for client projects. So I'll just use the cloud render and just render it out at 1080. I won't be doing high res. And obviously Fusion's renders are not the type of thing that you're after where you want like photorealistic stuff.
Yeah. Do you 100% design your products in Fusion?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And just because what are the main callouts that make that the best software to use?
For me, it being parametric with the timeline, being able to change values from the parameter table in order to adjust sizing on the fly without having to go back and do a lot of tedious work. Yeah, the timeline I find super helpful. Honestly, just the way the whole CAD software works. Again, we talked about this before, but transitioning off of SketchUp and to Fusion. The other big thing is that it has integrated CAM, so I can output straight to my CNC to do work with that and have the models there. But yeah, I like designing in it. The way it works, sketching things out into 2D, extruding them into 3D shapes, which is one of the more popular workflows or useful workflows that you use when you're using Fusion. But yeah. How have
Awesome.
you found it? Because you just got into it, eh?
I've downloaded it and I've got like all their welcome emails, like let us help you. Like, do you need like we saw that you were on the website and all that stuff. So like that's the stage I'm at. Like I honestly haven't even opened the program.
You have a trial license?
Yeah. I did the trial, and then it's I know it's free for personal use, but then if you're a business, then obviously you have to pay for the business license. But I was like trying to figure out like how capable the free version is, and I know with these things like with DaVinci Resolve, the editing software, and like all these like free like out of the box can do somewhat what you need. I always upgrade every single time because it's always I need one tool that they have that like in a pinch, and I'll upgrade just to get the one tool. So I understand the system that they have with these programs is that yes, the free can work for you, but it's probably not a long-term situation.
I mean, yeah, depending on how long term, I guess. I know for Fusion that there's some things that are locked on the cam side for, outputting for CNC manufacturing and stuff. But for the modeling environment, I don't know if I've heard of any limitations that it has. So I'd be interested to hear if you run into any roadblocks early on, because I think most of that on the free is actually pretty open, which is basically what you'll be using for it, I think, at least in the near term.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. My goal is to basically get to the point where I can kind of freely develop the products in Fusion and then get them over to Keyshot. The main reason is that I just need to create models to import to Keyshot.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like I don't know if it'll necessarily go into my workflow for like client work, possibly, but right now clients aren't asking for like that detailed of things at this point. They're just shop drawings are kind of good to go. Some photo references is kind of where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I thought about it when I was doing my project decks for clients that, the renders, if we're just talking about the shop drawing again, like it's useful. It's been useful for me because I do a lot of, CNC work regularly with this kind of stuff, or I'll refer back to the 3D model and just kind of pan it around my screen to find drawing or to find dimensions as opposed to actually looking at the shop drawings, because I just find it more useful, more accessible. But in terms of like client, I know you do this as well, but like it's nice that Fusion, I can do some renders out of it and provide shop drawings and kind of give them a whole package when I'm quoting a project of the size that I think it makes it worthy, that makes it worth the time to do that extra work. I think we've talked about that before too, but there's obviously a threshold where nobody's interested in seeing how this like bookcase is going to look, versus, whatever else you might be making that might be a little more interesting or a little more custom.
Yeah, definitely. So busy couple weeks. Obviously we took 2 weeks off since the last one we did. So lots have happened. Obviously we both attended Victoria Design Week.
Mm-hmm.
Which was interesting. What were your thoughts on it?
Actually, I want to get your thoughts first, because you were more involved, or you got to a few more things than me, right? I think at the show.
Couple more, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I thought it was like well organized. It was kind of a weekend away with the industry, which was nice. It was kind of connecting with, like, obviously we're not connecting with people in Victoria as often as we do as people we connect with in Vancouver. So I thought that it was a good experience for that, and to kind of really network outside of kind of the people that we see day to day. The talks were, I think that they were targeted more for like interior designers and in that lane than like strictly furniture makers. But like honestly, we're trying to gather information from as many different avenues as possible. So it's good to kind of get that wide breadth of knowledge from a bunch of different adjacent industries as well. So overall I thought it was good. Obviously, me and my partner went down, and it was a fun weekend away. At the same time, there's the events and the parties and all that stuff. So it was yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, sweet. I know one of the focuses, or one of the things we're trying to do, is obviously do some networking, because if you're a couple of woodworkers and you're surrounded by interior designers, it doesn't hurt to make some connections there, since that's usually the medium with which we can find work. How did you do in that respect?
Good. I think we fostered some larger relationships with some fellow woodworking companies that are a little bit more established than we are. Been in the game a little bit longer, so it was great to kind of see them again, hang out with them again, and kind of get a more in-depth idea of kind of what they're up to and what their future plans are. So I thought from that aspect it was great. Yeah, it wasn't like that many new connections in a way. It was more like building up the connections that we already had, which I think was one of the most beneficial things from the weekend.
Yeah, nice. And so I met it was Mike and was it Stefan?
Yeah,
Stefan? Yeah,
yeah,
both really
we
nice
call
guys.
him
Sorry?
Demo. Call him Demo.
Demo, and
Yeah,
that's his handle as well on Instagram, is it?
Atelier Demo. Yeah.
Really, really nice guys. Got some I was able to chat with them a little bit that first night at the opening party and steal away some great techniques and information from them as to like very experienced and knowledgeable guys. Super friendly and super helpful. Just I love talking to other woodworkers and craftspeople who just love the trade.
Yeah, we got the benefit of going to Mike Randall's shop on Sunday as well.
Yeah.
And then we went up to Campbell River. So we were going to stop at Demo's shop on the way back because it was more closer to Nanaimo. But our ferry schedule and stuff didn't line up. So we didn't end up getting there. But we did get to meet up with both of them actually at Mike Randall's shop on Sunday. They were doing the open tour all day. So that was great to kind of see where they're working out of. He's got the kind of Mike Randall has kind of the ideal setup. He's got the backyard shop. He's been at his property in Victoria for like 25 years. Beautiful kind of character house, and then a big soundproof shop in the backyard.
So
He's 10 feet away from his shop at any time when he's home. So that's kind of the dream. And I understand now why he does have a very, very small shop, but he works in lighting. So he's not building giant things. And I understand why the partnership with him and Stefan makes so much sense now, because Stefan Atelier Demo can handle a lot of the larger manufacturing. Like obviously you see some of his lights, I don't think could even fit in the shop. So it's that relationship really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I remember talking to Mike. I think he said, well, I was mentioning to him, I'm in like less than 1,000 square feet here. And he was like, oh, I know exactly what that's like. So his space is probably not, is it of similar size, I guess, maybe to my shop?
I think it's probably a little bit smaller than yours, but taller.
Mm.
It's like an oversized. Yeah, it's a beautiful space. Like honestly, it's like, and it's surrounded by like a giant backyard too, with like flower beds and plants and big trees, and he has like a really good relationship with like all of his neighbors. Like all their kids hang out. So yeah, he's just in a really good setup.
Yeah, that is the dream. I mean, we've talked about that before when I was talking about, what ideal situation would be is definitely have the house and then have a shop,
Mine was always North Van, but then I just read something that says that North Van is now the most expensive place, like over Vancouver.
Yeah, that definitely sounds about right, judging by the type of work I've gotten in North Van.
Yeah, well, I guess it's just West Van creeping across, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
All the real estate in West Van, I guess, is a little bit hard to come by, or I guess the prices are so crazy that people are affluent people are kind of spreading out down the coast a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, North Van is beautiful.
There's just being out in the like, you feel like you're kind of in the forest, even though you're in like suburbs. Like it's such a crazy feeling over there.
Yeah. I mean, it is very much suburbs. It's even very much suburbs in the way that even though they're, physical distance away from the rest of the city is actually really close, it is a pain in the ass to get anywhere out of North Van at any time you would actually want to get in and out of North Van.
I know that's one of the hard points, as well as the price. But it's also, my partner works downtown, so it's kind of, until she's like either working remote or working full time at Humble, it's not really an option for her to commute.
Yeah. I mean, I would go nuts. I mean, there's not a 0% chance that I have honked at just about everybody that lives in Vancouver already. And I would just be working my way through the North Shore.
But you also don't like nature, so.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm much more interested in man-made objects. Man-made objects taken from the earth and then created into something and presented. I love that.
Yeah, I guess you do like nature in a way, but in a very different form than a forest.
I want it dead and shaped,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, I did. I had a good time. I wish I'd gotten to more of the social events for sure. Like you went to on Sunday. I wish I got to Mike's shop. I know there was another party on the Saturday or something for industry, or just generally for the design week.
The
that
Saturday
I wish I
one,
got to.
Yeah, the Saturday one was super cool. It was like they're doing a massive development, kind of right on the water there. So it was like a development event. So they had like kind of all the mock-ups and 3D renders of what this giant development's going to be. But then it was just a party. I think it was only like 2 hours long or 3 hours long, but kind of everyone went. It was in between. It was like in an alleyway. inside of the where the new development's going to be. So it's a beautiful spot, beautiful location. And yeah, that one was actually really, really good. We were lucky to meet up with all of the people from the Architecture Foundation of BC, AFBC. They came down that day, so they were all at the event. So it was great to reconnect with them. And then obviously Mike and Demo and a lot of other people. We had met and we met a couple interior designers that we had started discussions with. One was Hain by Design. We had actually been talking to them about going for coffee because they're Victoria based, going for coffee when they came to the city, but our schedules never lined up. So it was kind of great to connect with them over on kind of their home turf and yeah, just talk to them about what's going on at that event.
Yeah, sweet. I mean, the whole point of that weekend was to go to that event. Well, and for me to see my family at the same time because I live there. But I forgot my business cards, which was super duper helpful.
Step one.
It's like the only thing to remember is bring your business cards when you want to network and meet people and keep in touch. And I did none of that.
I have a similar mindset where it's like, if it's like snowboarding, it's like, okay, if I bring my board, I bring my bindings, I bring my boots. If I forget everything else, no matter what, I can still go snowboarding. Like I'll figure it out. I can still, like, that's the main thing. And if it's a business thing, especially a weekend thing, it's okay, business cards. If I forget everything else, no matter what, I can still give someone to remember me by.
Yeah. I felt pretty stupid. My wife turned to me. I was like, "That's like the only thing you need." It's like, I know, I know.
But this is actually a good discussion. Let's talk about this because I've obviously been to a ton of networking events over the last year. And we actually started out with, are people like into the sustainable, into the kind of more the environment? Like, would they rather scan a QR code on the phone and kind of keep it paperless? But I found that like a lot of events that we were going to, like no one, like every time you bring out the QR code, they're like, "Oh, business card." So it was kind of a weird experience in that way. So we kind of got rid of the QR code and went to business cards right after that because it was like you're having a great conversation, and then as soon as you pull out the QR code, it's, I don't know, it's like almost like a point of contention in a way.
Yeah, it is. It's like a point of resistance. And there's no good way to organize a QR code, like your web browser, like nobody uses it that way. You can't really hang on to it. You're not going to see it multiple times in the night when you're shuffling through your pockets or when you get home and you take them out. You can't catalog the information the same way. It's not fast, and that was the thing too. Like I ran into a couple people. I was like, "Oh, I can give you my Instagram handle." And you can almost see like just the eyes like roll to the back of their head. They're like, "Oh, fuck." It's like, I get it, man. I get it. This is awful. Yeah. I feel stupid. I'm not enjoying it either.
Well, it's a proof of concept is I literally have a bowl of business cards that I've collected over the last year. And it's always at the back of my head, like, oh, if I have a slow week or a slow day when I don't need to do anything, I'm just going to kind of go through all of those and reconnect with every single person. And it's just a physical thing that I have. Literally right beside our change bowl is a bowl of business cards. Yeah. So it's always just an idea to reconnect with people. And I think business cards is the only way currently to do that for that kind of thing.
I mean, I think it's like, physical objects, it's like Post-it notes. I use my Post-it notes all the time just to jot down whatever, that I need to remind myself what my priority list either is for the day or the week, or things I need to just keep track of to check back in on. And I just put them on my monitor, as I'm sure, literally millions of people do. But the physical cards are just, yeah. Like, how many times would you have remembered that if it was in a web browser on your phone or any digital contact of any sort?
Yeah. It's also because there's no, like, obviously they can, if it's a QR code to your Instagram, they can follow you in a way.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But that's the only thing. Yeah, they're never gonna just kind of like keep it somewhere and happen upon it weeks later when they actually need something. Like they're gonna completely have forgotten about that follow.
Yeah, that is a good point though. I mean, yeah, they might forget about the follow, but obviously they'll see your post. So I guess the best of both worlds, right? You get the QR code on the business card because nobody's going to take time to type in the handle anyway.
Yeah. And we've discussed this. I don't want anyone to type in the website, so that's fine for us. But I don't know if we discussed this prior, or at least I don't know if we discussed this on the podcast, but my business card story from the interior design show.
No, yeah. Tell me that one again.
So we were at the interior design show, and I think it was like a last minute thing. And we were exhibiting there, and then obviously you have to bring stuff to give people the same way that you forgot your business cards. I kind of wish that we had forgotten these ones, but I think we had printed business cards, but I think that, and then like months had gone by, and I think that they were just like a test print. So I don't think that they were like the go-to market ones. And I honestly, I don't think like we really liked them because of like some formatting issues. And then so at the last minute, I was just like, oh, just grab the business cards as we're like going out the door to the interior design show. I think it was 2 years ago. And I didn't even look at them. So I didn't even double check them. So then we were handing them out, and then we handed them to one person at the show. And I was like, oh yeah, just my email's on there. He's like, oh no, there's no email on here. When I and I was just like, okay, well the website's on there. He's like, no, there's no website. And it turned out that there was no contact information at all on the business cards. So I was just basically handing him a card with our logo on it, and we hadn't double checked them. So that was a big fail on our part.
You mean, isn't that something that Prince used to do when he changed his name to the symbol?
Yeah.
Or was that just a Dave Chappelle skit? I can't remember. Just be handing it out.
One and the same. But yeah, that was, and that was in terms of like points of resistance. That was like a conversation over kind of situation. But you live and you learn, and our business cards now have contact information on them.
I just love imagining that guy that you gave the card to as you were telling the story. He's just like, all right, and then he just turns around and walks away. It's like, what am I going to do with this thing?
Exactly what happened. And he was like a representative at Article. So it was like a decent connection to have.
Like, okay, so what you got to do is just type our name in, okay, and then write in Google and just say from Vancouver, and you'll be able to find us. This will be easy.
Yeah, can you just Google search humble object?
I was just glancing down at my phone. So, I want to actually ask you about your week, but I'm just gonna say this because I'm just thinking at top of mind. I don't know what's going on here, but I was on Facebook Marketplace looking at used laser cutters. And I saw one and I was like, okay, this might be one that I want, it's the right size and whatever, but I didn't know what the wattage was of the laser and how many hours the machine has had on it. So I messaged the guy and I was like, what's the wattage of it and how many hours has it been? And his answer was, yes. Are you interested? I was like, no, that's not what, like, are there bots selling this stuff?
I think that I don't know actually, but I'm sure that it will be automated. Like at least initial responses will be automated at some point as like, cause I think you like rank higher. I don't know how Facebook works, but I know like Etsy or like all those kind of things, like you can set up automated messages. So you're always like in their algorithm, you're ranking higher because you're like a quick response.
Okay.
But I don't think Facebook has that.
Actually, what I'm thinking about right now, if you've been on there, they auto-populate the field with, hello, is this still available? And I don't know if you're on the receiving end because I've only sold something on Facebook Marketplace. Never, probably.
Yeah.
If the auto-response populated field is, yes, are you interested? Which are two of the most useless questions to ask when you're trying to sell something. Is this available because the post is up? And I know it's silly, but probably necessary to ask that question. And the other one is, yes, are you interested? Like, why would I have sent this fucking question if I wasn't interested in the machine?
Well, that's why people always write in their comments now, like, if this post is up, it's available. Like, don't ask me that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but what I want to ask you about is the chair, because I know that's been a focus of what's going on in the shop. So explain.
So the chair is a new thing. I think I've been thinking about it for a while. We've done seating in a couple capacities. Obviously, the stools, that was kind of our most well-known one. But we've done a couple I would say like chair adjacent, where they're like kind of stool chairs. Like you've seen them in my apartment, but
oh yeah, I saw the one on the patio. I really like that one.
Yeah, so I got two of those, but that I wouldn't really say that that's like a dining chair at least. So it's always been kind of, ever since I started woodworking, has been in the back of my mind to kind of build a chair, but just never got around to it. And then I think honestly, like Design Victoria and going to all those talks and furniture stores and seeing all the products that are out there kind of really got me inspired to kind of pull the trigger and start developing the chair. We also have a bunch of clients that we're working with where we're like building all the tables, but then you build one table, but there's 8 chairs that go around it. So like which one is the better product to build, or can you capitalize on taking both that market, right? Building the table and building chairs that kind of go with it. And in terms of like setting up like an assembly line, no one's ever going to buy one dining chair. So like innately your products are going to be like multiple purchases of the exact same style. So you can start creating processes to batch them out, which obviously helps with your margins and efficiency of building them. So yeah, with all that considered, I basically kind of broke ground on starting the chair. And I didn't want to go the normal route of like 3D prototyping and kind of just work like overthinking it for a couple months. And I'm not saying that the prototyping process is wrong. I think that it's completely valid, and I'm probably going to find out why after developing my first chair. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of jump into it momentum is a huge thing for me. So I wanted to kind of like be in the moment and really put some time in and get some shapes actually built. So yeah, so spent the last week on that kind of every day.
Well, let me just jump in there for a sec because you know, when you're talking about the prototyping thing, I mean, my like I've talked about before, I probably over model. You know, when I go to the computer, I model all the time. But when you're making your chair this time, or this for this first time, at least this style, you're learning as you're putting it together, is this going to be a strong enough joint? And if you haven't done specific workflows and joints and blah 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 before, as you're modeling it, you could be modeling it and it holds together in a computer, you know, but you can't really get a sense of how beefy should this joint be, you know, what can I get away with. So I think there's a lot of value in working through something practically before going through the time of modeling it, if you don't have any foundation of knowledge with which to model something that you need to actually be able to sit in.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's been very kind of therapeutic and yeah, it's honestly like it feels like it doesn't feel like a job working on this chair, at least. Obviously, when we start making them over and over again, it will, but this has kind of felt more of like a art form, craftsmanship. And I've been like hand carving a lot of the parts of it. Obviously, like there's I'm not doing anything that I know I can't create ways to replicate, because obviously chairs are very crucial to be the exact same every single time. So it's not just about time efficiency, it's about being able to recreate the similar shape. And especially when you're talking about like bended backrests and like beveled seats and all those kind of things, those things need to really be repeatable. So even the stages of the chair, like the backrest that I carved just on the belt sander, I know I can create jigs to replicate exactly what I hand carved on the belt sander. So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, so it's been a great process. And honestly, I think I'm only about 2 days away from finishing it.
Sweet. What do you left? What do you have left to do?
So what I've been putting off the entire time, because the main thing, because I'm actually building it with white oak, so I'm building it with the final wood. So if anything kind of gets miscut, I have to rebuild the part and kind of recreate work that I've already done. So I'm going very slow. And one of the complex angles that I've been working on for the X stretcher that's on the bottom, the seat isn't 45, like it's not a square, it's a rectangle. So it's like a complex angle. So the two stretchers that I have, that one connect to the back stretcher support that goes between the back legs, and then the front two legs, they basically have to half lap into each other. And I've just been putting that off as long as possible, but that's one of the only steps that I have left to do. And then just polishing, kind of working on the final bevels and then gluing everything and sealing. So very close. Like honestly, the chair stands up right now with no glue. Like I can sit in it. The backrest goes on. So it's honestly like
good sign.
It's always a good sign when you can use the thing without glue.
I noticed so the seat is a solid glue up. And then you have what we're calling is it a proper word? The stretcher for the bottom? Is that what they call them in chair construction?
Apron stretcher. Yeah. Stretchers might be more for tables, but I've always just called them stretchers. Yeah.
Right. And the seat connects directly to, or is molded sort of into the front legs. Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna like be very flowy. Kind of all the bevels lead into each other. So the bevel that's under the seat forms into, and then continues down the leg all the way around. So I wanted to make it, although it is a boxy design, I still wanted to kind of have very like kind of comfortable rounded design elements to it, because I know that one, those are very much on trend, and two, I just love the way of taking wood that people usually consider to be very boxy, rigid, and kind of molding it, like sanding it and being able to mold curves that just continue throughout the entire piece.
And for wood movement, does that mean that the stretcher apron on the bottom, would you only attach it to the seat from the center point, I guess, so they can move? Or how does that?
Yeah, so there's two ways. So I can do threaded inserts and then leave a little bit of room, like leave a millimeter or two gap in the actual hole where the threaded insert goes through, and then that will allow for the necessary wood movement. My panels are pretty skinny. I'm not super worried about wood movement, because I did cut the top seat is actually made up of like 6 or 7 2.5 inch 2.5 inch thick boards. So I made sure to kind of do that to help with the wood movement as well. So it's not like large 6-inch panels of wood. which obviously the wood movement gets a lot larger with the thickness or the width of your panels. So yeah, so honestly, like I think it would be fine. I might just domino them in because they are kind of thick, or sorry, kind of skinny. Like they're probably about 70 or like 3/4 thick. So to actually screw down into them and put threaded inserts, like there's not much surface area there without, like, I would be worried about splitting the wood. So I honestly think I'm either just going to do dowels or I'm going to do,
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
and then they're going to be doweled into the back stretcher. And then it's actually, I recessed I routed out a slot in the leg itself that it fits perfectly into. So it's almost like a mortise and tenon on the leg side.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's always difficult to convey how things look in an audio format and explain, visually. Like I can picture it in my head as we're saying it. I hope anyone listening can kind of play along in their mind of what we're talking about. But I
Well,
mean, the chair looks great. And I mean, chairs are so hard.
when we put this,
in my opinion, anyway, for me, they are.
when we put this up on YouTube with the video, I'll put in a shot of where I'm currently at. I've been taking progress photos as we go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's great.
But I'm excited. I'm excited for two reasons. Because I'm excited because I think a chair is like a staple in the woodworking community. It's kind of, you kind of cut your teeth on building a chair, and it's everyone kind of understands what goes into making a successful chair and kind of the work that goes into it. And then two, with the current connections that we have and the current clients that we have, it is an easy selling point to market to.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically adding not only another product, but it's almost like adding another service to be able to create chairs for our clients. As I said, we've been doing a lot of tables and cabinets and those kind of things.
Yeah. Give people some examples of stuff that you make. Yeah.
But yeah, so chair wise, I can go into work after, like current work that we're doing. But yeah, I want to hear more about the steps that you put into the AirPod dock.
Oh yeah, right. So it's been a very spendy week and a bit. I was spending some money on some tools. We were talking a little bit earlier.
What'd you buy?
On the back of the charger where the fill spout is, it's messier because that's where I fill the mold, and that's where I have the vents for the air as the mold is filling, so we don't trap air pockets. So it always needed to have something there on the back, or I would have to clean them up post casting, which is a little more tedious. But I also needed somewhere to put my logo and where it was made anyway. So I decided that I was going to put an aluminum plate on the back. So if you've ever like brushed metal before, it can be really, really tough to get consistent scratch patterns directionally. It's just tedious. It takes a lot of time. I don't really love the look of the scratch anyway. And because I'm going to be selling these products with, desk setups, I imagine people are not imagining, they're made for Apple products, some to be used directly with or, aesthetically similar in ways. I wanted to do blasted aluminum, sandblasted or glass beaded to be precise. So I picked up a blasting cabinet, a sandblasting cabinet, so that I can sandblast the aluminum panels after they come off the CNC and then out of the tumbler. So my idea now is I'm going to be CNCing them. I'll throw them in the tumbler, the vibration tumbler, if you know what I'm talking about when I talk about one of those.
I do.
Yeah. So I've got like 400 grit pyramids in that, and that'll break all the edges. And then from there, I can take it over to the sandblasting cabinet. I can blast on that even patina finish, and then I'll do a coat of finish on it, and then take it over to one of the other new tools I'm buying, which is a fiber laser to do etching. So the fiber laser is strong enough to etch on aluminum, the one that I purchased. And I'm just going to put my logo there and, made in Canada to show where it's from, which is also important when you're shipping things to other countries. And I'm playing around with maybe putting a unit number, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, something sequentially increasing. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I might just keep it quite simple. We'll see. I explored doing engraving on the scene first, but the size, the lettering that I want to get, I knew, at least with my CNC or maybe with the tooling that I'm comfortable with using, I knew I wasn't going to get the kind of resolution I really wanted. And really the only way to get that was going to be, the real practical way I was going to get that was using a laser to etch it. So I got that laser coming in, and then I've also ordered another laser, a CO2 laser, one of the ones with the beds that because people use for cutting out acrylic, or I don't know whatever else people use for MDF or balsa wood or whatever. Like I think it's probably the most used tool for things found on Etsy, basically.
Right.
Um,
With all the names on cutting boards.
that's it. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Oddly, when I was looking into it, the fiber laser doesn't etch very well on wood. It does do a good job on metal, and the CO2 does well on wood and can't do metal. Anyway, that doesn't matter because I'm buying it for packaging primarily.
Are you going to be doing your own packaging?
Yeah, the focus isn't necessarily the outer retail box. I might still be purchasing those. I still have some stock from previous products that I can use as well. I might buy the outer boxes still because they're still quite cheap, but the inside to keep stuff safe, and the way that the product presents when you open the box, that stuff's always a lot more expensive. When I ever buy all the packaging sets, I don't want to use foam anymore, full stop. Even when I buy custom cardboard cutouts to package things in, one, it's more of one very specific thing you have to store and you have to buy multiples of. You have to do a lot of upfront cash, and it's never what you want, and they cost more money than you want because I only buy it locally as well. Because I could buy it from overseas for cheaper, but I don't
Yeah.
want to sit on 1,000 of anything.
Right. And they don't really do MOQs like lower than like 500, at least in a cost effective way.
Exactly. Yeah, you're sitting on a lot, and I've always had a problem with the size of my shop, and I mean, just that giant cover I got there behind me has been mostly full of boxes. It just takes up a ton of real estate. So with the fiber laser, I can just buy very cheap. I think they come in 40 by 48, if I remember, from Uline. Just a stack of those. They're like a couple bucks a piece. And I can to order cut out basically what I need because I'm so low volume anyway. Or I can just spend a day and get a few dozen done, say. So from a cost perspective, if I had just been doing this from the outset with my products, I would have saved money by have just bought this laser to cut out all of those custom kind of protective inserts. And now I also have a little bit more discretion or flexibility to change it as I go, to iterate on different ways where you can open it and look aesthetically pleasing, things like that. And I do have templates that I use with my products for wall mounting the mini hoops. There's a template so you can find out where to put the screws in the wall to hang the hardware. I have ideas for how I'm going to be wrapping the items inside of the boxes. And so those are other things that I might be cutting out in the laser. Or I've also got a Cricut, one of those really cheap, vinyl cutter, not really cheap, but one of those consumer grade cutters that I might use for that stuff too. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm thinking of developing like wall hooks as one of our products. We're thinking of actually doing it with the collaboration with Mara, so they would actually be marble.
Cool.
But I'm wondering, in terms of like wood movement, with your experience, if I made imagine you attach you made a custom wood piece, whether it's dovetail or whatever it is, you attach that, and maybe it has a one of those like circle levels just kind of in it, so you can put it properly, and then you could kind of slide the hook down onto it. Do you think that there would be an issue with wood movement, and if it was kind of a wood on wood connection?
Can you explain it just a little bit more?
So imagine like a dovetail piece goes on the wall with a locking system, and then you
the
have
male part goes on the wall,
and then you have the female dovetail that you slide in and lock it, and maybe the stop is on the piece that locks in. And obviously I've been seeing them a lot 3D printed where they're creating those systems, and I'm just wondering if I went wood to wood, if there was going to be an issue where the dovetail like kind of expands in shipping or humidity differences, and then it doesn't fit. Because the worst thing you could have is it one, be loose, or two, not fit.
Yeah, both of those things are possible. I think if I were to do it that way, what I would probably do is I would have the dovetail be a looser fit, because obviously if it expands, you're totally screwed. And I would probably have a place to put like a set screw or something that you tighten with an Allen key that puts pressure on the dovetail. And then that's what really locks it in place.
Right. Yeah, that's smart.
I don't know where or how you'd end up doing it. I guess you would just put it wherever is the most discreet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And those set screws are super cheap.
The set screws?
Yeah, like all that stuff.
That's actually another good thing to talk about too. Have you seen the ones that they've been marketing now? I guess a lot of people have been doing it, where you can get like your logo, or you can get like a shape in it, and then it's basically like a zero clearance. So it looks like a solid piece, but then when you press the middle in, and it comes with like, you get a custom tool that goes with it. Have you seen those?
Is that Andy Klein's screw?
I've honestly, I've seen them a bunch of times. I don't know if like who the originator of it is, but I've definitely like Workbench Studio here in Vancouver. I know that they had one that had like their logo in it.
So it's personalized.
I saw that they had it. I don't know if they developed it, because obviously I'm assuming those zero clearance CNCs are quite expensive, right?
I think they might have developed it. So it was made of, these are brass screws, are they?
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen them in brass and I've seen them in silver.
And so you effectively have a custom tool that, if it was, say, a Phillips, which would be a cross, that cross depresses into the screw as you turn it and then comes back out when you're
Exactly.
done.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. I do remember actually seeing that from that company. I think they make them themselves for their products, I think. No, sorry. I don't know if they make them, but they have them made
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. As I was thinking about that, like that could be the set screw. So it becomes a design feature rather than something you're trying to hide.
Oh, right. Yeah, it could be. I mean, my advice on the early set would just do minimum viable, though, and then have that as a background development, because I would think that screw's either non-trivial or no, I guess it depends, because if they are getting it made by somebody else and you don't have to do any R&D, you're just going to buy it. It just depends on how much it's going to mark up your the cost of your product and whether or not it makes
Well,
sense, I guess.
so that's an interesting concept or conversation to go into too. How do you feel about MVPs,
What's MVP?
like minimum viable product? What you just said.
Um, It's interesting. I mean, since we're not really making things that are strict to utility, I guess I have to think about what's going to convert someone to purchase that item. I think all of the things that things that I've learned and I'm trying to apply to the products I'm making right now is that for the price point I want to hit, the threshold for the product is kind of just the finished product for me, where I'm probably not going to develop it more. Most likely, what I might develop more is actually the processes behind the scenes.
So you're not trying to create. You don't work with the ideology that you should create an MVP and then plan to update it. Like I know that that's big in like software now, where it's just speed to market. So it's just get it out and then we'll just fix it. Like everyone's going to complain, but like as long as we're out in the market and people have downloaded it or bought it, then we can fix it. I know that happens with video games a lot now too, where it's basically just constant software updates to get it to a finished product.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I have like weird feelings about that. And I think I feel the same way that you do, is that I'm going to develop the product, and before I put it out, it's going to be kind of the final, and I'm going to move on to another product. Like I don't like, maybe if there's like big feedback on certain things, like I'll go back and fix it, but it's like it's not a mindset that I like to work with, that like, oh, this is going to be a lesser product than what I think this product could fully be down the line.
I think a couple of things. Like one, when you're talking about the hook, what are you really selling? If you're like, it doesn't really need that screw, or what you're selling, what people are going to buy it for is the fact of the wood, the dovetail and the stone. And then is it worth the time and money spent going after the screw, where really a set screw is going to solve that problem, and the people that are buying it are really buying it for those other reasons. It also just adds another like complexity to a discrete part in your SKU that you need to keep track of and inventory or buy minimums for, all of those things. And maybe that's less about MVP really. I think where MVP for me in my mind is, I'm going to make the product that I deliver perfect for these retail products, but the entire scope of what the product is also includes the packaging, some of the information in terms of like assembly and care and all of those kinds of things. And I think those are the types of things where now I feel a little bit more flexible on, like I can change, which is kind of why I'm buying the laser, because I want to stay flexible on that stuff. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into having to buy several hundred units of some kind of packaging that if this thing doesn't sell, I hang on to or whatever, but I want to get something that presents well, that gets out to the customer well. And most of the stuff that I'm going to be continuously working on is how to create that product in that state and get it out to the customer for the most part, right?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, what do you got on the bench? What's obviously we're talking about products you're developing, but what's some client work you're working on?
Honestly, I'm not right now working on any client work. I feel like I'm really behind on the product stuff. I've got a couple things in the pipe that are coming up this summer, but I've always known that I was going to have, hopefully, I'm hoping for 2 months where I can really just spend dedicated on getting these products across the finish line. I've got the big install for all the things that used to be behind me here in the shop for that home. They're actually just by my front door now, because we're going to actually do that on Monday and maybe part of Tuesday. So that'll be a couple days install and assembly.
What are you installing?
Just those desks and like floating shelves with LED lights and sliding glass doors and things like that. They're replacing a bunch of drawer boxes in some units that they already have existing. So that'll be, time consuming of taking existing drawer fronts off, taking drawer slides off, putting them on the new boxes, putting the fronts on, stuff like that.
Have you ever seen the companies? We actually did a little bit of research into this about a year ago. It's probably something that you could do too, because you have the more of the equipment to do it. But have you ever seen those companies that just do custom door fronts? Like they basically take the idea of the IKEA frame, like it's even marketed like get custom door fronts for your IKEA cabinet, and they basically just build and program in. But then you can get like white oak, you can get like really nice door fronts, because if you think about it, a big part of your kitchen is what is seen is not the cabinets. No one cares what the cabinets are, right? If they're IKEA, if they're whatever, they care about what the door fronts are, because those are what is seen in a kitchen. So they basically, that's their whole company, is they just make custom drawer fronts and door fronts. Have you ever looked into that at all, or is that anything that would ever interest you? We thought about it, but then it was like, okay, when we have to get a CNC, we have to like, it was like a big investment to like start doing that. But yeah, I've seen a couple companies doing that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely its own like business, right? Where you definitely spin it up with tooling and things and marketing engine and things like that to get it done. I imagine the only reason it would make sense is because they'd be able to price it, I'm sure, a little bit more than IKEA is pricing their fronts, but better quality. So you'd have to hit a pretty narrow price there. Like, so more than IKEA, but less than a custom kitchen, so you're not paying for all the boxes. So, and IKEA kitchens are crazy cheap compared to getting a custom kitchen in. So getting the boxes in themselves saves a ton of money, and then doing the front. It's very smart.
What are we talking about? We're talking about like $2,000 versus like $100K up.
Well, you can, yeah. I mean, depending on what you're talking about, for sure. I mean, off the top, like I know I've installed one full IKEA kitchen with a buddy of mine, and that kitchen cost like $5,000, I think. And if it was custom, it probably would have been 25. So, you're looking at 5 times to get an actual custom kitchen in. And I think that also doesn't necessarily take into account using premium materials too for your drawer fronts. Kitchens are real expensive. But yeah, for sure. I have heard of that business. I mean, I'm sure they do. Now that I think about it, I'm sure they do really well. I would think they would.
Yeah, and we were thinking about this when we were doing the solid white oak drawer fronts for that Detroit job. So that's when we were like kind of researching that, and that kind of, I forget, we had like a couple months of conversation about that, and then it kind of just went away. So maybe at some point, once we like actually have a CNC and we can kind of just like trial it on the side, we'll bring that back. But yeah, it was always interested me, and I've talked to a lot of people like my sister and a couple of other people that are kind of outside of the industry in a way, and they didn't know that those were like those kind of companies existed. So there was still like an education period that was going on with even knowing that you could get a service like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure the only reason I heard it is because I know, builders, like people who do renovations and stuff like that. I don't know if I would have just come across it otherwise, but I guess maybe if you're out there building your own kitchen, you just come across more stuff like that, in terms of like marketing.
The big white whale would be to get a developer and then get a contract for the entire building.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
Just install. And I saw some of the marketing that we're doing, which is interesting, which I'd like to do at some point, is they were collaborating with like famous influencer interior designers and coming out with a custom line. So it's like you can buy so-and-so's drawer fronts in collaboration with the company that makes them.
Cool.
So that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great business. I mean, I couldn't think of anything, not to poo-poo on their business, but I mean, it sounds, from a craftsperson's point of view, pretty boring.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a money thing.
You don't even make the boxes. Like making boxes is boring as shit.
Yeah.
But now you're just making the cover for the boxes. Like, all right. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's a business.
That would be a job that you would hire someone to operate the CNC as quickly as humanly possible. You would
exactly.
Ask how much money you made every week. But yeah, interesting note, I saw that like one of the product placements we did with an interior designer, they were featured on Western Living today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, they did like a studio walkthrough of their design firm because they just renovated their whole office. And we gave them some stools, and yeah, so that was featured today. So that was nice to wake up to. It's actually, you can see it. I posted on our Instagram story.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. Oh. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's good news. But
it works. It works. Give free shit out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it works. See how many messages we get. But yeah, so I guess we can go into what I'm working on now. Obviously, I'm similar to you, is that the product or the chair is kind of taking up my week this week. And that's more on the product side. It's not for any one client right now, but on the client side, we're still finishing those pieces for I Love Gigi's in Coquitlam. So we're doing a large cabinet for their serving station and a couple other things. And then, interesting enough, I don't know what the relationship is, but Mark On, who we work with a lot, they connected me directly with the owner of Nemesis, who we've done a bunch of stuff for their coffee shops, and basically just saying, hey, because usually we go through Mark On, who develops their coffee shops, and they put the order in, and that's the relationship. But now she connected me direct with the owner or their operations person, saying that he has a bunch of custom things that they want to put in their new Nemesis that he wants to talk about.
Oh, that's great.
So I don't know the scale of that right now, but hopefully that conversation happens pretty soon.
That's awesome. They get another coffee shop opening?
Yeah, so it's I Love Gigi's, Nemesis Coffee, and then the sales center upstairs. So it's a giant complex.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and then I counted it because I've been thinking about chairs so much. I counted it at that location. There was like 240 chairs that they bought.
Damn.
So
Do you know
that's
where the chairs are from?
I do.
How much were they a piece?
I don't think I've looked it up. It was Design Finish Group or like something like that. Design Finish Group. But then another one that they go to all the time is Boila, Boila, out of the UK. And I know that they have I met their local sales rep, I guess, who handles like their trade accounts and clients like that. I actually met him at a Nemesis here briefly, but yeah, they do have local Vancouver trade accounts people.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I wonder, obviously they don't have transparent pricing for that kind of thing. You can't just go on a website and see what the prices are.
No, well, I don't know what the trade prices are, because I'm sure there's one, the trade pricing, which is 10%, 50%, whatever it is. But then I'm assuming that there's multiple purchase pricing, and then there's probably bulk, like just individual bulk purchases, like individual project bulk purchases. So I'm like, if I threw a shot in the dark, I'd say like between like 400 and 900, but I have no idea really.
Yeah, that's going to be really, I mean, if you've been put in touch with the owner, hopefully you can find out. I mean, it'd be really useful information to have, obviously, to see what competitor pricing like is,
Yeah.
And to see if
like chairs I don't believe chairs to be profitable unless you're like selling a lot of the same design. And you can really, like, it's almost like a coffee shop. Like, it comes down to like the pennies you can pinch from the process, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, you could definitely see how that could be possible, just because they can be so labor intensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My goal is I'm actually going to turn one part of the shop, because my plan is to actually build a bunch of chairs. Like, I want to have like 6 or 7. So I'm actually going to turn one portion of the shop into a chair wall.
The MoMA thing?
Pardon?
Is it the Museum of Modern Art? Is that the one that has the chair wall?
They have the chair wall. And then remember, actually in Victoria, when we went to
Article. Was it?
Gabriel Rosso? Or remember they were saying that all the chairs that were there were the same ones that were in the MoMA.
Oh, okay.
And they had that chair wall. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to make a chair wall. And then I think that's probably where that will be the background of the podcast.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So it's not going to be very functional, but I'll have a lot of chairs I can look at, which will be fun.
I've actually got an interesting marketing idea that maybe I'll run by it, but we'll do it off mic.
No, what is it?
Well, no, because I don't want anyone to bite it. I want to give it to you. Then you do it, and then you can talk about it. I was thinking, I was thinking about this, like the way I was running Odd One Out before is a lot of like very playful stuff. And so I was always thinking about things I could do at some kind of a design show to get eyes on, right? Because a lot of just displaying your products, it can be really hard to gather eyes and attention in a show if you don't have doing something that kind of stands out a little bit more. And so I thought it'd be cool for something like a chair that's large is to make faux packaging like you would get a toy in, where you have this giant, a heat molded plexi thing around a chair hung on a wall with a giant, fake cardboard backer showing that this is like a retail product that you could buy. And I thought that was that'd be a really dope eye-catching display case basically for your product that you can bring around to different shows that people are like, oh, did you see that chair, in that like kind of almost nostalgic kind of way of displaying something,
I'm stealing it. That's going to be my booth at the interior design show this year.
Should, man. I think that would be sick. People may disagree. I think if you make it interesting, people will talk about you more, right? At those kind of shows. And I think it can be hard sometimes to really get attention.
Well, it's digital world too. Anything that gets people taking photos with your product or wanting to put it in their recap videos, or those are kind of the goals. I'm excited. I'm excited for IDS this year. I don't know what we're gonna do yet, but
It's in
always
September,
fun.
right?
September, yeah. Actually, Twig. Do you know Twig?
No.
I don't know. They're a company and they do a lot of networking things, but they reached out saying they had some subsidized IDS options or something, but I haven't connected with them. But I know that they do like they rent like a big long booth, and then they have like different companies as a part that go with their products.
Okay, and what do they sell?
I couldn't tell you because there's so many different products in their booth, so I don't know which ones were theirs.
Got you. I guess maybe they should maybe think about how they're doing that then.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's good, man. We don't want to give it all away in this episode, but
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, fair enough.
so that's week 6. We can sign off with our handles. Mine is at humble_object on Instagram, and then www.humbleobject.com.
And I'm at OddOneOutDesign Instagram and oddoneoutdesign.com.
All right. Chat next week.
All right, man. Peace.